Welcome back, Smart Start Radio family. Before we get into our latest amazing episode, we have a quick word from our sponsor. With spectacular hotels, amazing theme parks, and unparalleled entertainment, Universal Orlando Resort offers a meeting destination unlike anything else in the world. Have you ever walked into a venue and immediately started planning an event that doesn't exist yet? Maybe it has an incredible view. Maybe it feels more like a private home than a meeting space. Maybe there is a fireplace or an outdoor terrace or a room that looks nothing like a usual ballroom. And immediately, the ideas start coming. But there's a difference between a venue inspiring an event and a venue becoming the entire strategy. Because a beautiful, intimate space can create conditions for connection. However, it cannot create connection itself.
Smart Star Radio, Smart Star Radio. Ready, set, here we go with another episode. Watch as we learn and grow. That's Smart Star Radio, Smart Star Radio. Ready, set, here we go with another episode. Watch as we learn and grow. Starting smart is the action we design. Meeting of the mind.
Welcome back, Smart Start Radio family. Tis I, Eming Piansay, multimedia editor for Smart Meetings, here today for another coffee chat where we take one idea from the meetings industry and break it down over a cup of coffee, water, tea, or whatever is getting you through this planning season right now. So for today's conversation, it is inspired by a story called Small by Design, which you can find on smartmeetings.com, written by Kate Zosnock. The story looks at how smaller meetings can create an outsized impact when planners design them intentionally. And one of the things that really stood out to me is how much the venue shapes the experience. In a small meeting, the room is not simply where the program happens. It influences how people feel, how openly they speak, how easily they participate, and whether the gathering feels intimate or simply underattended. That also means planners cannot begin and end with finding a beautiful small space, because ultimately the venue matters, but the venue is not the strategy. It is easy to understand why the venue can take over the planning conversation. Let me set the scene for you. You walk into the styled room with comfortable furniture, natural light, and access to the outdoors. You immediately picture people have meaningful conversations there. That setting seems to promise intimacy, but there's nothing wrong with being inspired by that, okay? That is fine. That's like your blueprint. That's like your vision board. Go for it. A venue can help establish the emotional tone of a meeting before anyone says one word. But the problem begins when planners choose the space first, and then they start to force the meeting into it. Instead of asking, what environment does this group need? The question becomes, how do we make this venue work with what we're trying to do with it? These questions sound familiar, but they lead to very different decisions. I have been to so many different venues, and usually they're just blank spaces, they're blank canvases, and they're always very beautiful. They're beautiful spaces, and you can just imagine all the things you can do with it. And I also do this because I think about the space. I were a planner with a meeting, and I just wanted to have a meeting. Would the meeting work? I'm always like, ooh, pretty space. How can we make the space work for the meeting? So guilty, obviously, but, obviously, maybe I'm not alone in this thought process. It's easy to get kind of sucked in to a venue that has all like the bells and whistles of what's already there versus something that you have to kind of craft as you go. Kate's story makes an important point. A small meeting is not necessarily a simpler meeting. When only 10 to 15 or 20 people are in the room, every detail becomes more visible. Let's say if the chairs are uncomfortable, everyone notices. If the acoustics are poor, everyone hears it. If one person dominates the conversation, that person can change the energy of the entire room. If you had that person in high school, you definitely know. And if the room does not support the purpose of the gathering, then there may not be enough activity around it to disguise the mismatch. This means planners cannot simply choose a cozy room, remove most of the chairs, and assume intimacy will happen naturally. It takes a little more legwork on the part of the planner. There is a vast difference between a meeting feeling intentionally small and a meeting feeling empty. The space has to be designed around the people. There's a big difference between intimacy and low attendance. You could have less people, but have a sense of intimacy. Like I have been on trips and events, or even though we were in small groups, it felt like so much was happening. Like I felt like I knew these people very deeply, emotionally, because we connected. We created an environment that was very close. We were able to get to know each other in a short amount of time just because of the way the event was structured. And when you create events where people are able to bond essentially, and you're able to create touch points and activations and moments where you're creating core memories in real time for these people. Well, they might core memories. You don't know that. They could be, hopefully, knock on wood, that they are. They don't think about the fact that it's a small group. They think about the fact that they had an amazing time in this space, regardless of how big the group was. And ultimately, like, if you have a space where there's less people and someone's just not feeling it and they're just like disengaged, not part of the group, it's really easy to pick up on that kind of energy. They're just like not into it. And I can tell they're into it. I'm like, oh, this person doesn't want to be here. And I can tell they want to be here. And they're kind of killing the vibe in a lot of ways. That can definitely set the tone for how your group responds to the space that you've created. Let's get back to the space itself. Every room communicates something. Rows of chairs facing a screen tell attendees that their role is to listen, or at least primary to listen. A boardroom table may create structure and authority. A circle suggests everyone is probably going to say something or respond to one another. If we have sofas and a fireplace and natural light, it may encourage people to relax and speak more openly about whatever the topic is at hand. In Kate's story, it talks about circles and U-shaped arrangements for small meetings because there's eye contact involved and more equal level communication. That may sound very basic and like, no, duh, it's how you talk to people. But where people are seated and where they sit influence who speaks and how they listen, whether the gathering feels like people are like presenting or it's a conversation, because that matters. The venue is not neutral. The room is already telling attendees what kind of experience they're about to have. I remember I was at one conference. I think it was a gamers conference in San Francisco. And we were sitting in a circle. And granted, there was no windows in this room, so it was a little claustrophobic, but that's not their fault. It's just the way it was. The speaker for this particular session had arranged it so whoever spoke had to hold this, like, it wasn't a box. It was like a pillow box. And so whoever wanted to say something would raise their hand up and they would bring the box over and they would hold the box. And as the session progressed, more people raised their hand. And I think the circle aspect of that really made it more inclusive because everyone was on the same level. Everyone was allowed to see that no matter where you were sitting in the circle, you were allowed to like receive the box and speak. So I think that really made an equal playing field for everyone. And it made people want to engage more, which I thought was really cool. The article highlights Alaya Ventana Big Sur and its residential approach to small meetings. Instead of relying only on traditional meeting rooms, the property uses intimate indoor and outdoor spaces, natural light, fireplaces, terraces, and comfortable furnishings. That kind of environment can change how people interact. They may sit differently. They may speak more casually. The gathering may feel less performative and more personal. But comfort alone is not enough. A beautiful sofa does not help if attendees cannot see the presentation. A relaxed seating arrangement does not work if people become physically uncomfortable after an hour. An outdoor setting will not encourage reflection if noise, weather, or lack of privacy keeps interrupting the conversation. The objective is not simply to make the meeting look cozy. It is to create an environment where attendees feel comfortable enough to participate and support enough to do the work they want to do. There is a big difference in my mind between physical and emotional comfort, and they really go hand in hand, especially for myself, because I'm someone who, in order to feel like I'm comfortable, I need both. I need to feel comfortable physically, and I need to feel emotionally safe in a space to feel like I can open my mouth and say something. I've said this before on the show many times. I'm an introvert, and I don't speak unless I feel like I feel safe. And I remember I was at an event, I think it was in Mexico. Don't ask me where because I don't remember. And I was at a panel on Gen Z. I remember someone said something and I raised my hand because I had a very pertinent thought that I wanted to share. I think the thought was along the lines of, like, it doesn't matter what age you are, because I feel like every age, like, you want to increase your skill set. And we shouldn't be like organizing or having this mentality like only certain age groups want to, like, because I know personally a lot of people in my age group just don't want to learn tech. They just don't. And a lot of people who are older than me do. We shouldn't be stereotyping that. And so I got on the mic, which is something that I was surprised I did. And I kind of went off for a little bit. And I was really surprised. I felt safe in that moment because people had talked and they had made me feel like I could say something too, which really surprised me. And again, I don't do this very often, publicly at least. So I think when someone who, like myself, who doesn't necessarily feel like they feel seen in an environment, feels seen and feels like they can also say what they need to say, it makes them feel like they have the space and the ability to say what's on their mind. That moment is a great example of that. Because again, not something I do normally, and it felt really good. One of the strongest ideas in Kate's story is that the landscape at Ventada does not simply act as a backdrop. It can influence the agenda. Meetings can move into guided hikes, mindfulness exercises, stargazing, or conversations around a fire. The environment becomes part of how attendees reflect, connect, and think. Purpose-first planning does not mean choosing the safest or most conventional room. It does not mean giving up beautiful views, residential spaces, or unexpected settings. It means knowing why these choices matter. A fireplace can help a conversation feel more intimate. A walk outdoors can give people room to process. A shared meal can help attendees relate to one another outside their professional roles. A circle can make participation feel more equal. The venue becomes strategic when planners use its qualities intentionally, not when it simply looks impressive. Small meetings can create powerful experiences because every choice is felt more directly. The room, the pace, the setting, the moments of structure, the moments when the group is allowed to breathe. The venue helps shape all of that, but the purpose has to lead. A small meeting does not become meaningful simply because it happens in a beautiful, intimate venue. And connection does not appear automatically because a room has comfortable furniture, natural light, or a fireplace. These elements can support the experience. Planners still have to decide what the group needs, how the room should be used, and what success should feel like when everyone leaves. The venue matters. In a small meeting, it matters even more than ever. But the venue is not the strategy. It is one of the tools planners use to bring the strategy to life. Once again, you can read Kate Zalestak's full story, Small by Design, on smartmeetings.com. And I'm Eming Piansay, and this has been another episode of Smart Start Radio Coffee Chat. I'll see you next time. Bye.
A Smart Start Radio, Smart Start Radio. Ready, set, here we go with another episode. Watch as we learn and grow. A Smart Start Radio, Smart Start Radio. Ready, set, here we go with another episode. Watch as we learn and grow. Starting smart is the action we design. Meeting of the minds, how to better use our time. Leading, interceding, proceeding, they divine. It's believing, they conceding, so it goes on more.
You've been listening to Smart Start Radio, a Smart Meetings production. Interested in being our next guest? Connect with us at editor@smartmeetings.com.